My name is Kristin Paterson, and I'm the founder and CEO of a nonprofit charity called the Whole Little Life Foundation. We provide a community and support services for young adults all around New Zealand, aged between 20 and 45 years of age, who've been diagnosed with cancer. But I am not a cancer sufferer, and I am not a cancer victim. I've not fought in a battle, and the only journeys I got to go on were to the chemotherapy lounge and radiation unit. I've come to realize that my cancer is as much a part of me as my fingernails or my kneecaps. The cells that grew to an 18 by 15 centimeter tumor that squashed my left lung and wrapped itself around my heart, well, those were my cells. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's in early 2009. I underwent what was a very standard treatment regime for this particular cancer, including chemotherapy and radiation. And after 9 months of treatment, I was sent on my way. The truth is, having cancer wasn't that hard. They diagnosed me, we made a plan, they treated me, and then we waited to see if it had worked or not. When my treatment finished, I was told I was in remission, and I've been blessed enough to have stayed there ever since. A cure, however, is not guaranteed. But having to deal with the bigger theme of my own mortality, that was the part that started as a crack in my consciousness and threatened to break open until it was wide enough to swallow me whole. Up until this point, I was one of those people who existed in two parts. I was my head, that bit was me, and a body, and that part was the tool that I used to get my head around to the places that I wanted to go. So when they told me I had cancer, I felt immediately betrayed by my body. I was 26. Too young to have cancer, they said. And I suddenly felt as though I'd been shackled to a ticking time bomb, an impulsive, nasty piece of work that couldn't be trusted. I devoured books on nutrition and books on cancer. I began to analyze everything I ate. I tried a vegetarian diet. I tried a raw vegan diet. I ate dairy-free and gluten-free. I grew wheatgrass, I juice fasted, I smoothied all sorts of bizarre and surprisingly wonderful green things. I learned how to meditate, skin brush, I took saunas, I joined the gym for God's sake. I should have been getting healthier, but I wasn't. After 3 years of this, I walked into a medical psychologist's office, sat down in the chair, clearly meant for the health-obsessed woman who had developed a shake, who couldn't sleep through the night anymore, and who was so nauseous she could no longer stomach more than a few mouthfuls at a time. I can remember the words, "I'm afraid of everything," came rushing out of my mouth, and then I cried. I could see the person I had become, and I didn't like her. I was a brave woman, an adventurous woman, but I never took risks anymore. I'd forgotten how to have fun or how to let loose. You see, cancer teaches you great lessons, like get out there every day and appreciate life. Tell the people you love that you love them. Live every day like it's your last. You commit as soon as you finish treatment to engage in life fully and wisely. And I hadn't missed the memo, but somewhere along the way I'd completely lost the point. I realized that the fear I carried around was taking over my life, and it was paralyzing me. So I did the only logical thing any woman suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder could do. I threw myself out of a perfectly good plane. I faced my fear of dying straight on, and it was exhilarating, but it didn't help. I finally did find some relief, but it came in a far less extreme package. I started a daily practice of yoga. Every day I'd hit my mat, moving my body and connecting to my breath. I started to push my body to the place where I would become fearful it couldn't cope, and sometimes I would come out of the pose. But sometimes I wouldn't, and with an intense focus on my breath, I would go a little deeper and find that my body wouldn't just hold me, balanced in place, but that it would shine, courageously firm in its foundation. And so I began to have fun with my body. Instead of wishing I had a new body altogether, I would get excited about my next yoga practice so that I could connect my mind and my body to play. I didn't notice the imperfections in my skin anymore or the scars left over from treatment. Instead, I just saw something beautiful and something strong. And then somehow, when I wasn't looking, I realized that I'd stopped seeing myself as something separate from my body, or separate from my cells, or separate from my cancer. I found the healing that I needed, and it wasn't at all where I expected to find it. It wasn't in a book. There wasn't a formula, no one-size-fits-all cure for cancer or its prevention. It was far simpler. I had to find unconditional love and acceptance for myself, and I had to breathe. You know, we're made up of 60,000 billion cells. These are the units that make up the tissues that form every organ of our body. They cleverly transition from bone into ligament into muscle. And when necessary, our cells will split into two so they can replace a cell that has come to the end of its lifespan. There's an entire system in place to ensure that the process is successfully achieved 99% of the time without fault, despite the barrage of chemicals and toxins processed out of those cells every day. Our bodies are so crazy smart, so well built, and so totally complex. And cellular mutations, the precursor to cancer, exist as part of that complexity. In 1999, Professor Rothschild discovered the first cancer metastases in dinosaur bones. Since then, scientists have uncovered a remarkable number of tumors throughout the world's massive collection of fossils. Cancer is not a modern disease. It has been a part of life since life began. Within the laboratory of my yoga practice, I continue to explore every nook and every cranny of my anatomy, every one of those 60,000 billion cells. I've created space and areas that had felt so constricted and so closed for so long. I've learned to trust in the process of life and the process of my body, and I've accepted that even though I don't have control over what happens to me in the future, I can always choose how I will react. Thank you.